Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining me. I'm Mel. I'm going to be your host today for a little lunchtime chat on the Robust Kids Reset, a new program that we're running through the Pediatric Naturopath. All about building resilience for our kids from the inside out. So just a quick couple of pointers on tech today. So when you're joining, if you can just mute your microphone so that we don't have lots of background noise. If you've got questions, I'd love for you to pop them in the chat. So at the bottom of your screen, you should have a little chat icon. You can pop your questions in the chat, and we will also have some time for Q&A throughout today's presentation. So if you're feeling up to it, you can pop your video on and ask questions away. So welcome everyone, and I'm really glad that you're here today. Lisa has had a little family thing come up. So today I am your presenter and I'm Mel. We're going to talk about raising kids who are more resilient, both in their body, moods, and resilience that we are achieving through food. So today we're going to explore the GAPS Nutritional Protocol and how you can harness this protocol to build your child's resilience, support your child's immunity, settle behaviours, and improve overall health. So in a way that feels doable for you and your family. So this is a little bit different when it comes to the GAPS protocol. This isn't about perfection and sticking to the protocol. This is about building solid foundations incrementally so that you can help your kids thrive. So I'm just going to try and move our presentation along. So who am I? So my name is Mel. As I said earlier, I'm a GAPS practitioner and I'm new within the Pediatric Naturopath Clinic. I have about 6 years of in-clinic experience working as a GAPS practitioner. I have also previously worked as a functional medicine health coach. But honestly, this whole journey started for me as a mum, trying to figure out my own children's health, my health, and to fulfill a desire, I suppose, I have for living a food can be your medicine focused life. So my clinic experience, study, and then my first-hand experience has pretty much led me to where I am. So the GAPS protocol is often very synonymous with being tricky, difficult, really restrictive, hard, just too hard to do for a family. But I'm here to present an alternative view for you around GAPS. So, and I believe it is all about the way that you approach GAPS. So I'm not your standard GAPS practitioner that will tell you need to start at stage 1 of GAPS and slowly cycle through all of the 6 stages of GAPS and move to full GAPS. My approach is completely different, and it is about finding the version of GAPS that fits you and that fits your family life and not the other way around. And I know from my experience and clinic experience that this is the way to build a sustainable and supportive food is medicine lifestyle for the family. So today we're going to explore the often forgotten or hidden connections between gut health, immunity, and behaviour. And you'll be surprised to learn how deeply interconnected these all are. So when our gut health is off balance, it can ripple out, affecting anything from our immune system to our mood and our behaviour. We'll also be unpacking why sugar cravings and constant colds just aren't bad luck. They're actually signals from our body, and they're telling us that something is amiss, and often this leads us right back to the gut. We'll also explore today the GAPS approach and how it really shines when it comes to gut health, immunity, behaviour, cravings, and how it is actually an effective reset for your child's health by addressing these underlying issues. And I want to empower you today too with some practical strategies that can get you that you can get on and start using today. So here we go. So why why are our kids sick, tired, moody, and craving sugar? So, how many of you can identify with this little picture below? So, is this something that you see at home? Colds, runny noses, itchy skin, upset tummies, sugar cravings, cravings for bland, white food, or it might be that you're experiencing tantrums with your little one that seem to go from 0 to 100 in a matter of moments. So, as parents, pardon me, as parents, we're often asking ourselves, why is this happening? What is going on with my child? And how can I best support my child? As ultimately, our greatest desire for our children is for them to be happy and healthy and thriving in life. So, too far, back we go. So, what are the root causes? So, what is happening with our children and what's contributing to those symptoms that we're seeing? So, the key factors that we see when it comes to children's health challenges are one, poor gut health or a leaky gut, microbiome imbalance, inflammation, nutrient deficiencies, food sensitivities, and often an over reliance or an overconsumption of processed foods. And so these are the causes that we're going to unpack a little bit more so that we can get a better understanding on what's going on with kids. So let's have a look. Leaky gut. This is a term I'm sure that lots of you have heard as it's bantered around quite a lot. But what is it and why is it a thing when it comes to our kids' health? So, when the gut lining is leaky or damaged, food particles begin to sneak through into the bloodstream, and our immune system activates and it sees them as invaders and it reacts. And this is a good thing. But that constant red alert keeps our kids' immune systems busy and tired, which means they have less resistance when it comes to fighting common childhood viruses, and more symptoms like allergies and eczema, etc., emerge in response to this heightened immune system. So our kids are really left feeling quite inflamed and exhausted from this constant immune activity. So you'll be surprised to know that 70% of our immune system actually sits in our gut lining. So if the gut is leaky, your body is constantly on the job. So we need to heal and seal that gut lining and calm the farm, so to speak. The second contributor or root cause that we look at is microbiome imbalance. So our gut is home to trillions of bacteria, and we need a really good balance of good bugs to thrive. So our gut bacteria help us to digest food, absorb our nutrients, even make hormones and brain chemicals that can keep us calm. But with that intake of, let's say, antibiotics, sugar, processed foods, or an overload of white foods can tip out the balance of the good and the bad bacteria, allowing that bad or unhelpful bacteria to overgrow, causing an imbalance which can then impact numerous things, including mood, focus, immunity, digestion. So what's important to know, let's say 90% of our serotonin, which is a happy, calm hormone, is actually made in the gut. And it is made with the support of good gut bacteria. So supporting mood is about supporting a healthy microbiome so that our children can find that emotional balance that we're. The last one, root cause on this page, we're going to unpack quickly is inflammation. So that is really around that small fire that's burning inside all the time. So food or environmental triggers can cause inflammation, as can stress, which can fuel the fire of inflammation. Chronic low-grade inflammation can contribute to anything from skin conditions to poor concentration and digestive problems. So it is really important to bring in some anti-inflammatory support for our kids at this point too. Welcome to everyone who has just joined. Hi, Renee. I just wanted to welcome you. If you have questions today, feel free to just throw your hand up, ask away, or there is a chat function at the bottom as well. We can type your question and I'll jump in and answer them as well. We'll just keep moving along. So to the last three root causes we're going to look at around children's health. So nutrient deficiencies, and this is a big one. So kids have growing bodies and they need huge nutrient needs, but often our modern diets fall short on things like zinc, iron, omega-3s, and fat-soluble vitamins. So without enough of these building blocks, the immune system and brain work their best, leaving our kids feeling a little bit tired and moody and often more vulnerable to illness. So zinc, for example, is a really good one to focus on. It's important for our sense of taste, also for our sense of smell. So often we see with zinc deficient children, they can be really fussy with food and they'll have frequent colds. They'll have a slower ability to heal and generally feel like they have poor growth. Another deficiency we see a lot is iron deficiency, and this shows up in kids worldwide, and it'll show up as fatigue, poor concentration, and also some behavioural challenges. So food sensitivities is another one that we see. So children can react to things like gluten, to dairy, to eggs. These sensitivities may not show up as obvious allergies, but they can look like things like eczema, skin rashes, kids having meltdowns. Even mild sensitivities can impact on gut permeability, so that leaky gut scenario that we talked about earlier, and create pretty much a cycle of reactivity and inflammation in the body. And the last one we're looking at is modern day foods. So packaged foods, cereals, fast foods are so prominent, I suppose, in our diets because they are so convenient and easy to get to. So these types of foods are often full of additives, preservatives, sugars that are hidden and unhealthy that don't really nourish our body. And when instead, they irritate our gut, deplete our nutrients, and often feed the wrong bacteria. And displace, having lots of packaged food in, is displacing the area that we have in the diet for real nutrient-dense nutrition. So the vast majority, the vast majority of Australian kids get their 40% of their daily energy needs from processed food, which really leaves little room for nutrient dense food when we're wanting them to truly thrive. So these are the root causes that we see to the health challenges children facing at the moment. So what's the solution? How can we help our kids to be resilient and robust when it comes to health? And so meet the GAPS approach. So that's what today's lunchtime chat is all about. So I'm going to dive right in. What is GAPS? So the GAPS diet is a healing protocol, and it was designed to restore the immune system, brain and body through real and whole foods. So the protocol itself was developed 25 years ago by a doctor, Dr. Natasha Campbell McBride, in response actually to her son's health challenges. So Nicholas is her second child who experienced significant health challenges. So it's really fascinating how her personal experience led to this groundbreaking solution that many people have benefited from and continue to benefit from. So the GAPS protocol itself is broken into, let's say, 6 introductory stages. So stage 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. culminates in what we call full GAPS. And there are now more specific branches that are coming out in response to, I suppose, the specific health challenges we're seeing, both in the adult and child community. So that's where we're seeing keto GAPS, no plant GAPS, more plant GAPS. So they're quite interesting developments as well. So the GAPS protocol is really well researched with a lot of growing evidence around its effectiveness in supporting both children and adults. And it's great that we're seeing science supporting what the GAPS community have seen in practice for quite some time now. What's important to point out too about GAPS is it's not just about food. It is actually a comprehensive strategy to support the overall well-being of an individual or our children. So as we move on to the next slide, I'll try and explore some of the core principles around this protocol. I also wanted to, before I did that, was just pop this slide in to let you know there are multiple conditions that GAPS is actually used to support. So it does actually support a broad range of conditions and symptoms when that we see in our children. So GAPS is first and foremost, the first principle is about healing and sealing the gut lining. And as we pointed out earlier, when that gut is leaky, our immune system's on alert. So we're wanting to use foods like meat stock, which contains lots of lovely gelatin, and healthy fats to help seal and repair the gut lining so the body can calm down and begin to function properly again. So that's the first of GAPS. I don't know if you can, I'm just trying to get rid of a little alert message on my screen. Hopefully you can't see that. We're also looking at balancing the microbiome as well with GAPS. So we're wanting to ensure that we've got that beautiful balance of beneficial and opportunistic bacteria, as we know that that balance impacts our digestion, our mood, and our immunity. And so GAPS brings in probiotic-rich foods like kraut, yogurts, kefir, etc., to help restore that balance and build stronger resilience. And as discussed earlier, with the nutritional deficiencies, GAPS focuses on nutrient-dense foods. So quality meats, eggs, fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, etc., so that our kids are getting all of those building blocks they need to thrive. And when they are nourished properly, their bodies can actually do the job they're meant to. So the last piece here is about reducing irritants, and that's what GAPS is about. So we are reducing or removing processed foods, refined sugars, additives, preservatives. We're removing some of the well-known irritants to the gut that inflame and keep things in that fire scenario. So we're looking to reduce that inflammation and heal. Yeah. Then also we're relieving toxic load by removing some of those irritants and through supportive, let's say, lifestyle practices, we support the body to eliminate that toxicity as we move along. So I will just quickly move on to the next slide. So as you can see, what I've tried to do on this slide here is just give you a bit of an example and really link up what we looked at earlier as those root causes to our children's poor health and how GAPS through its key principles can support those. So the leaky gut, we're looking at healing the gut with meat stock. We're bringing in probiotic-rich foods to balance out that microbiome. Meat stock and the removal of irritating foods quelches inflammation for us. we're focusing on nutrient-dense foods to help correct those nutritional deficiencies we see. With the removal of common irritants, we see food sensitivities settle, and we're not having excess processed foods. So we're okay on the processed foods front there. So GAPS core principles for me says robust kids. So we're going to have stronger immunity, fewer cravings, we're going to have better focus, energy, kids become more open to new foods, we have less bloating, pain, constipation, calmer skins, and kids can bounce back. But I'm a realist. Robust doesn't mean perfect. Our kids, I live in the real world, and our kids will get sick. They will have days off, but they will bounce back more quickly, and they have more resilience to cope with life's up and downs when they have this beautiful, solid foundation to spring from. So, and when they have got that, they frees them up to play, to learn, to connect with a steadier mood and better focus. The key thing that we are wanting to move towards. So I alluded before that GAPS is not just about food. So food is a key foundation, but I've popped in this little wheel, my resilient child wheel, to kind of show that food is just one part of the pie here, or one piece of the puzzle. There are other portions of the puzzle that it's important to work on as well, or weave into our GAPS journey. So having a think about how much time does my child have to just free play, to have access to sun, to ground and be in nature. How are my sleep or how is my child's sleep routine and rhythms? Is this something too that I might need to look at working on during this time? How well does my child connect, and how able are they to calm their nervous system? So all of these pieces are so important to work on together with your practitioner alongside your food foundation. So we want to look at this as more of a holistic journey rather than we're just focused on food and nothing else. I might have a little moment and see, are there any questions coming up at all? So far. Not to date. Not to date. Great. So Lisa couldn't be with us today. As I said earlier in the presentation, she's had a little family thing she needs to sort through. So Lisa is also a GAPS practitioner, as well as being a naturopath in clinic and the director of the Pediatric Naturopath. So this is her family who embarked on GAPS in 2017, and they went straight in, dove in and did GAPS intro. So, so the stages 1 to 6, so which is a tricky way to start things, but most people, most GAPS practitioners, that's where we all feel we need to start from. Worked really well for Lisa and her family, and that she got some great results. So there was a resolution of an egg allergy with one of her daughters, fussy eating reduced, and she found that there was some more emotional regulation for her people. This is my little family. So we live a pretty GAPSy lifestyle most of the time. We did GAPS intro quite some time ago now for my oldest son. And so he had a severe dust mite allergy to the point that he needed surgical interventions for his airways. I pretty much have always had severe hay fever at the onset of any spring season. And my daughter, beautiful little middle daughter, had a pretty complex start to her life. So I knew that her gut health was quite compromised, and I wanted to support her in thriving and teaching my littlest one all about food while he was a little sponge. So we have journeyed through the GAPS introduction diet, which was the massive learning curve for me, and that taught me all about approach, because that is what I'm about, and that's what I've learned through that journey. Is approach is so important, and for it to be sustainable, especially for mums when we are juggling so many balls. Yeah. So, what were our outcomes as a family from our GAPS intro journeys? So, my son's allergy has resolved alongside, let's say, some remediation pieces that we do in house for, let's say, dust mites. So, making sure we're doing regular dusting, changing things out, etc. He doesn't have any issue at all. I don't have hay fever anymore. Yay, fantastic. And I feel that our family is pretty resilient and bounce back well from coughs, colds, flus, that kind of thing. And GAPS has become our foundational approach to eating. We're realistic though, it's an 80-20 scenario for us. We don't stress if something is not quite GAPS compliant when we're out and about 100% of the time. We do our best and don't stress about the rest. And as you can see, my kids love being involved with food and food prep. And I think that's another key part of approach, is getting your kids involved as well, as much as they want to. And I feel like I've set my kids up with pretty good skills to keep moving forward. Yeah. So a little bit more about GAPS, what's in, because this is often what people are asking me, what's in, what's out, what can I have, what can't I have? So meat stock is the first thing that's in, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more towards the end of today's presentation as well. So meat, poultry, seafood, organ meats. Yes, most people hold their hands up and go, whoa, organ meats. We're talking about incremental progression here. You may not get to organ meats, and there are different ways, lots of different ways to bring that into a diet. Non-starchy vegetables, eggs, healthy fats, butter, avocado, ghee, tallow, fermented foods, fruit, nuts, and seeds. So as you can see, it's a pretty broad variety of foods that are available within, this is the GAPS or full GAPS protocol. Probably to highlight now, what's out? Processed foods, sugars and artificial sweeteners. So we talked in that last slide about non-starchy vegetables. In starchy ones that are out are potato and sweet potato. Don't panic. There are alternatives for those as well. Grains are out, so breads, pasta, rice, and crackers. So thinking through those as probably your most common version of grains that people are concerned around. But these foods are not out forever. GAPS, the idea around GAPS is that we are able to eat a broad and varied diet without having any symptoms at all. That is the goal of GAPS. The goal of GAPS is not to keep you in any form of restriction. Yeah. So this is what we are wanting to do, is pretty much hit a reset button on your child's health, so that we're not getting this constant sugar cravings, mood swings, sickness, this little circle we want to break out of. Yeah. So there are a lot of common concerns that I get or hear from families around implementing GAPS. So is GAPS safe for kids? Is it too strict? What if there's a picky eater? How do I fit all this in? Is this expensive? Won't things skyrocket? So I do have I can chat to all of those, but I'd love it if anyone today has a question or a concern around GAPS that they'd like to ask about implementing GAPS, feel free to either just pop your hand up, turn your mic on, or ask chat, and hopefully I can answer any of the concerns you might have. But Yes, GAPS is safe, real nutrient-dense food, whole food nutrition that we've been living on for generations. We're simply removing processed and irritating foods for a period of time, trying to support the body to heal. So it's about nourishment rather than deprivation. Strict, yes, it can look like that on paper, but in practice, it's actually about the approach you take. And my approach is different. So I feel that your approach to GAPS must be doable for you and for your children. And we take this one step at a time. We are not changing everything overnight so that tomorrow we wake up with full GAPS. No, full GAPS is our longer term big goal that we're moving towards, and we're taking incremental steps towards that. So, what if my child's a picky eater? So this is a really common concern, and we start with familiar swaps. So, and also hidden nourishment is another key too. So what they don't know about what you're putting into their current food is often a great way to start. So using meat stock, for example, here, we hide that. We don't need to hide it for me anymore, but it started out being hidden in everything. So mashed potatoes, we can still keep having potatoes until we're ready to move to non-starchy vegetables. So we cook all the vegetables in meat stock. We mash in meat stock. We put meat stock into smoothies. We put meat stock into any wet dish we're making, or scrambled eggs, for etc. So that meat stock then starts to change your child's palate. So often we see kids, once they've had some exposure, start opening up to looking at new foods. How do I fit in the cooking? Oh, when I'm already so busy. So this is definitely something I love to teach and educate around. And you don't need to work harder when it comes to having home cooked meals. It's probably just about working smarter with the time that you have. So doing meal planning. So dedicating that time to headspace to do a bit of meal planning, to prepare for some batch cooking, and freezing, can really reduce the time that you actually spend in the kitchen. I encourage you to think about allowing yourself a little bit more time, or clearing some time, because we all know that learning new skills can take a little bit of extra time. And it's important to be compassionate with yourself around that. So if we've got this goal that we want to bring in, a home cooked dinner X number of nights a week, I need to allow myself a little bit more time to be able to achieve that goal without putting extra stress on myself. Yeah. Grocery bills I see don't necessarily skyrocket, they change. So the investment that we've been making in processed and packaged foods becomes investments in fresh foods that we are then giving our kids. Yeah. So it's just a change. Will my child ever eat normally again? Yeah, for sure. So the goal, as we talked about before, the goal is not to restrict, but it is about allowing that time for the body to heal, and we will eat again, eat what we might say is normally again. So how do we manage school lunches and social events? So yes, there's lots of things that I like to educate on here as to how we can get around these pieces. And I like to focus on balance, not perfection. And school lunches might be the last thing that change. And we are bookending days with focusing on breakfast and focusing on dinner. And whatever happens in the middle of the day happens, until we're ready to focus on a lunchbox, for example. And it might be a lunchbox one day a week. Social events, it might be, okay, well, we're happy that we're just going to head off to that event, and what it is what it is, and move along on that next meal. Yeah. So what if my child has allergies? So yes, I absolutely understand the respect for allergies. My daughter had anaphylaxis to dairy, which I'm very proud to say resolved when she was a lot older than we thought. So her allergy resolved when she was about 11. Yeah, but I approached that with kit glove. So we are very aware of allergy in clinic. Yeah. And if we don't do GAPS perfectly, it's not going to work. I hear this all the time. Um, and I don't agree with that approach. I think doing some, even 50% of GAPS, is going to make a difference or an impact on your child's health. We're not here for perfection. We are living in a real world. Yeah. So you've probably got the drift that I'm all about approach. Um, and this is my biggest learning. So I don't take any client. It would be very rare for me to take a client on a GAPS intro journey as our first port of call. So GAPS intro is something that I would prepare clients for very well, so that when they do come to doing GAPS intro, if they need to, it would feel more like a reset for them. Yeah. Where I like to take people is meet you exactly where you're at now and look at taking our first sustainable step together. So that's what I believe my role as a competent GAPS practitioner is to find out where your family's at, what's happening for you, what kind of timing, what kind of lifestyle you lead as a family, and working out um, where that first step might be. Tailor that to you so that we're targeting what you're seeing in your family with your efforts as the mum. Yeah. So my thoughts here: don't attempt to change everything now. Take a long-term sustainable approach to health change. Find or understand the capacity you have for this. Um, the first thing I would suggest is adding things in. Don't worry about taking things away. Let's add some things in, because we will start crowding out the foods that we don't want to see at this point in time. Make swaps, think about swaps. Um, and then I also think it is so helpful to work just one meal at a time. Pick a meal that feels easy for you to make a start on. Leave the rest of the day as it is, and let's go, okay, let's work on breakfast. Work smarter, not harder. That's me with my hour and a half of power, or 2 hours of power in the kitchen on a weekend. That's my meat stock making time. And in that time, while my meat stock is cooking away, I am trying to prepare other options or other pieces, and make the time that I am spending in the kitchen valuable for me. And I do believe that taking small, manageable steps really does build and your family. So let's have a little look. So what can GAPS look like on a daily basis? So breakfast might look like scrambled eggs and bacon, sausages and bacon. A little bit, you can see there's a little bit of kraut in that picture with some bacon, eggs, and tomato. Chia puddings, pancakes that are just not made with a standard flour, where we're swapping out and we're using a nut or a seed meal. Lunch is generally some form of protein with some veggies. So my boys have got up the top there their little which I feel is so cute. They're little naked burgers that are in a little face shape. Um, Dinners can look like roast and veggie, shepherd's pie. We can still look at spaghetti bolognese and use zucchini or carrot noodles, or you could use red lentil pasta. So red lentils do form a part of full GAPS, and so that is often a great way to start swapping out pasta is trying out red lentil pasta. So even putting a little bit of red lentil pasta into your current pasta so the kids get a bit of a feel for that different taste and texture that it presents. Um, Snacks and desserts. So we've got fruits, and often I pair fruits with fats. So apple slices with nut butter, buttered apples, frozen banana ice cream is awesome. So there are a lot, it's not about our kids missing out. It's just about swapping out what we're making those things with. And that's my boys there. So my little fella who doesn't mind a bit of apples there with his apple collection, and my son who's made some yummy cookies there. So the question I suppose today is about, are you ready? Do you feel you're ready to hit that step for you and your kids? And so that's what today's presentation is about, which is this Robust Kids Reset program that we've put together at the Pediatric Naturopath. And so it is for families to get that individual one-to-one support, plus also have access to all of the information um, in modules that are presented within our platform. So there are, I'm just trying to remember, there are 8 modules that get released fortnightly, and then you have 9 consultations with your GAPS practitioner. So the first one is a longer hour consultation so we can get your plan started. And then around each fortnight, sometimes we might stretch it a little bit, we have a consult to work out where we're at, how did that set of actions go, and keep moving forward. There's lots of recipes, practitioner information. There is a closed Facebook group, so you can actually chat with other people who are on this journey as well, and share some hints and tips. And obviously, I would be in that Facebook group, and Lisa as well as your GAPS practitioners. Yeah. So a little sneak peek about what's in those modules. So getting started with our building our foundations for resilience, meat stock, really getting in and understanding what full GAPS is, what those power foods are, how we get them in, how we make them, the ones that I would suggest that we outsource first before you even think about making them. If you can outsource it, I say do. Make what we need to make at home. And then the approach of looking through meals at a time, how we relieve the load from our body, and how we continue living in a GAPSy style way. So it's a bit of a sneak preview here. And everyone kind of says this program is very practical and not overwhelming, and it's very much a meet you where you're at so that you can tailor and design your pathway forward with the support of your practitioner. Yeah. So yes, you don't need to do it alone. And today I wanted to really empower you to get started now with the first key superfood if you can. And that's meat stock. So meat stock we can make with chicken, beef, lamb, fish, turkey, any cut of meat we can make a meat stock with. The key thing we're looking for when we're making a meat stock, and I would encourage you to start with chicken. Chicken's pretty easy. It's quite a light flavor, and it's short in its cooking time, and is something that we can include very easily into the meals. So what do you need for chicken meat stock? So key thing where we're different here to bone broth is we're looking for raw chicken cuts. So drumsticks, wings, necks, carcasses, feet. Feet might be a bit too far for some of us, and mightn't be available where you are. But what we're looking is for raw chicken cuts. Got to have some bone in there. Get the best quality that you can get your hands on. Some people get tied up in everything must be organic. Great. If you can afford organic chicken, fantastic. Go for it. If free range is what's available for you, go for that. So look for your best quality. We just need some salt. I love Celtic sea salt. So we've got some trace mineral in there as well, and then filtered water. Don't get wrapped up in kilos and how much do I need. Find your pot that you want to cook your meat stock in, fill it almost to the top with your cuts of meat, cover it in water, dash in some salt, and away you go. Pop the lid on, bring it up to the boil. You might see some foam or some scum come to the top. Skim that off, pop your lid back on, turn it down just to a rolling simmer and leave it for an hour and a half. No more than 2. I would say an hour and a half is enough. Then we're going to cool it. We're going to use our meat, and we're going to store our stock. And because I am a little bit of a, will not say lazier, I like to make my time, I like to be time efficient. I will put my pot, as soon as I finish my meat stock cook, I will pop it into the sink to express cool, put some cool water around it. As soon as I can get the chicken out, I'll start using the chicken. If I've used drumsticks, I might pop them straight onto a tray, put some beautiful ghee on top of them and grill them. There is the kids' dinner straight up ready to go, and I've got my meat stock. I then put my meat stock into either ice cube trays, silicone muffin trays are fantastic for that, or glass jars, and I've put it all directly in the freezer. This means that I am not going to lose any of that liquid gold. It's there ready for me to start including in meals. So chicken meat stock is so easy to get started with, and that's what I'd encourage you to start with today if you have an opportunity. Think about swaps too, is the other thing that I'd like to empower you with, is have a think about the things that you are wanting to address in your child's diet and what might be a swap, let's say from a GAPS perspective. Yeah. So that is me for today and the Robust Kids Reset. I'd love to open up to see if there are any questions or concerns on your mind today. Just going to check the chat. Is there? Hi, Renee, and this is a great question. Yes. So Renee's question, is GAPS appropriate for babies younger than 1 who have shown some issues after starting solids? Absolutely, it is. And there is a whole program, Renee, on baby gaps. So, and nourishing kids through and creating a nourishing start with the baby gaps principles. So, yes, absolutely. Renee, kids under 1, we can certainly include, let's say, in the gaps Robust Kids Reset program for sure. Yeah. One thing that I probably failed to mention is how on earth did I get to the Robust Kids Reset? So if you jump onto the Pediatric Naturopath website, you will see that it's there and you can book that package. So the package, as I talked about before, has those 9 consults, all of your educational material. So it's my understanding that that program at the moment is $1,299 for everything. You can start with a deposit of $150 and pay in installments post that as well of $150 as you move along. So it's not an all upfront scenario that's required. And if that $150 deposit is too much, just get in touch with us on that Pediatric Naturopath website. There will be an email, admin at the Pediatric Naturopath, and you can get in touch and we can have a chat and work out what's best for you. But thank you, ladies, for being I know that this is a key thing for us, to seeing our children happy and thriving and resilient. And I am very much about trying to build solid, stable food foundations for our kids, not about perfection, about balance and keeping your approach as one that will suit you and your family. So today has been helpful. I can just see another couple of questions up in the chat. Um, this is a good one, Renee. Potential histamine issues. Yes, is GAPS upstairs? There are a lot of high histamines. Yes, and funnily enough, one of the things we see in clinic in reference to histamines and resolving histamine intolerance is meat stock. So, I don't ever start with big amounts of meat stock. So, I'm wanting to test and see how it goes. So, I would start with something like adding a teaspoon. If you know you have a histamine intolerance, I've started as low as having a drop of meat stock in a cup of water with a client, and we've moved upwards from there. So it's not about, I suppose, removing all histamines. We're wanting to build our body's tolerance to histamines, and doing meat stock is your first critical piece that we need to get in there and start increasing. So we may need to manage other histamine foods as well. Um, the way I spoke about meat stock too before in reference to its preparation, so the short cooked will reduce histamine buildup. Also, the way we store our food. So, meat stock, with me encouraging you to cool it quickly and put it into the freezer, is going to slow that histamine development down. Same goes with all of your other foods. So, thinking about if you are very histamine intolerant, we are not going to be wanting you to consume lots of leftovers that have been left in the fridge for a couple of days. We're going to be wanting you to be more careful and cautious around your storage of food. But histamine intolerance is something that we do see resolve well with the GAPS protocol. So, yeah, great. Thanks for your comment, Dawn. I'm glad that you found the information helpful today. And do reach out. We have a free 20-minute call available as well. So if you would like to sort of get a little bit more in depth about what's happening for you and your family and how we could make that work for you, please just jump on and book a call as well. So lovely to have everyone here today, and hopefully we will see you in clinic soon. Take care. Bye.